Hello there, hello there, hello there. Welcome back. Today is going to be a fun, juicy topic. So if you are new to me and my world, welcome. I'm so excited that you are here. And we are going to hang out for, I don't know, however long, however long this transmission comes through. And per usual, when I get ready to record these videos and hang out, good morning or good afternoon. Wow. This is where we're at today. You're getting me in full transparency, all the things today. So welcome. If you are new to my world, welcome. I am so excited that you are here. And it is fabulous to see your face. So, very excited. Today, per usual, as I started before, this is a topic that I didn't know I was going to do until about an hour ago. And I gave myself a lot of space and grace. I've been doing a lot of deep work the last couple of weeks, and I needed a nap today. So I took a nap, had some very vivid dreams, and woke up with this topic in mind. Like, it literally jolted me out of bed, and I was like, okay, this is what we're going to talk about today. And so we are talking about what you want and the courage to go for it or ask for it, right? Now, this can be a very scary thing for us, but this is also something that you hear so very, very much in the personal development world, right? It is near impossible to create the life you want if you don't know what that actually looks like. Okay, this is oftentimes where people will just kind of coast through life, and then 5 years down the road, they're like, shoot, where'd the last 5 years go? It's very unintentional living is the best way to say that. And I am a firm believer of intentional living. Yes, it takes a little bit more energy to be intentional, but if you're not intentional, then you don't ever get to go where you want to go, right? So a prime example of this is, let's say that you are, I use this analogy a lot because it's so visual and it's so good, but let's say that you are in Florida and your desire is to get to California, okay? If you don't ever get aware that you live in Florida and you don't ever decide that you want to get to California, you're going to spend a great deal of time driving all over the place. Driving all over the place, you're probably going to get frustrated, you're probably going to get annoyed, you're probably going to get lost. But if you have the courage to go, okay, hey, I'm actually in Florida and I'm okay being in Florida, right? Like, that's all right. I'm in Florida, that's where I live, and I want to get to California. No judgment, this isn't wrong, this is simply what I want. And you drive to California. You're going to get there much faster than if you kind of wishy-wash and you're not really sure where you're going, right? So the very first thing that we have to decide is, what is it that you really want out of this life? And this has been something that I spent some time doing some deep journaling around. And this has been something that, again, full transparency, something that I faltered with for some time because I was weighted down by these societal shoulds. I'm a mom, I should do this, I shouldn't do that. I should do this, I should not want that. I should focus on this, I should not focus on that. And we get all of these messages thrown at us about what we should and should not do, who we should and should not be, right? Especially as women too, right? You should be bold, but you shouldn't be a bitch. You should be, you should focus on your health and fitness, but you shouldn't make other people feel bad because you look great in your clothes, right? It's this constant back and forth, and it's no wonder that we struggle to know what we really want because we're bombarded by stuff all day, every day, right? And so I do really recommend that you spend some time in introspection. What is it that you really want your life to look at? Like, what is it that you want to create? And to do this, you really have to put aside the whole, well, this is how I grew up. This is what my parents expect of me. This is what my spouse expects of me. This is what my kids expect of me, da, 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 right? And I'm going to be, again, this is just me. I'm not going to keep repeating it at this point. I remember several years ago now, I found myself busying and like panicky picking up before my husband came home from work. And I had already been doing the work on myself for a couple of years now. And when I noticed it, I thought, well, isn't that interesting? Where did I pick up this expectation that my husband expected me to have a perfectly clean home when he walked through the door? And I sat with that for a moment and I thought, isn't that interesting? He has never expressed that to me, has never been said to me, and yet here I was panicky that the home was not going to be clean by the time that he walked through the door. And it was really interesting to see that. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to test a little theory here. And I got comfortable with not picking up the house. Now I do like a neat home. I just do. But I did notice that he didn't care. And I went so far as to say, hey, do you care what the house looks like when you walk home? And he was like, no, as long as it's not burning, like it's not a big deal to me. It's not something that I focus on. But it was so interesting that that was an expectation I had put on myself, not from him, but from some outside source, right? And we often do this to ourselves. We pick up things from our parents, we pick up things from other adults in our lives, and we start to put ourselves in this little box of the things that we should and should not do, like, have, be, oh, what, you know. And so the very first thing that you have to do is get clear on what it is that you want. Now, I remember the first time I did this and it all felt icky. Writing down the things that I wanted felt like a list to Santa that was never going to get mailed. It just did. It felt like I was my 5-year-old little girl that was like, dear Santa, I want, and then like wrote down all these things that I desired. It felt really icky to my adult self. I was like, this is just wrong. It's not right. And I really judged myself harshly. And so I gave myself grace and I said, okay, we need to, one, work on this relationship with our desire and know that there is nothing innately wrong with what we desire. The reason that we think some of the things that we desire are wrong is, again, because of external forces outside of us. And so I had to be okay with saying, all right, here are things that I actually desire. Here's what I want my life to look like. And I remember when I first started the Overjoyed Moms, the idea of being a successful business owner and a present mom was a societal should not. There were very few successful entrepreneurs that were moms that I saw in the space. And maybe I was just not exposed to that many, but there were not a lot out there. It was you were successful in business or you were a present mom. There was never an and. There were not many ands that I saw at that time. And so that was something that I felt I was pushing against because I desire to have a successful business where I help moms create the lives they want, and I desire to be a present mom at the same time. And the truth is, you get to have both of those things. You can have both of those things. You can have a wildly successful business and be a present mom and have an incredible intimate relationship with your partner. We get to have all the things, but we've got to shed the judgments around the things that we want. So spend some time journaling, okay? And a question that you can spend some time is, what is it that I really want out of this life? If nothing were good, bad, evil, wrong, right, etc., what is it that I really want? What do I desire to create in this life? And then once you have that, comes the second part of this conversation, which is the courage to ask for it. Okay. Now, this can feel like a scary thing. And the reason this may feel a little bit scary is because as children, we would ask for what we wanted, right? And we asked for it with no filter, right? Like my 6-year-old, she will come to me and she will rattle off 75 things that she wants, and she doesn't care. She's like, Mom, I want a pony, and I want some ice cream and some homemade bread, and I want some pasta for dinner, and she just, there's no shame whatsoever in her desires. Zero, zilch, none. She's just like, I'm going to tell you all the things that I want. And this is something that I do have to work with my other kids on, because as I've developed as a mom and grown as a person, I have healed this wanting, right? And I always say to my kids, just tell me what you want, right? Like, I can't get it for you if you don't tell me what you want. And maybe I don't get it for you, but it doesn't mean that I don't love you. It just means that it's not, maybe it's not in the budget, or, it's not something that we're ready to do right now, but it doesn't mean that you can't have it ever. Right? And I have to have those conversations with the kids. But my 6-year-old, she's just unfazed. She'll tell you that she wants a unicorn, right? Like, she doesn't care what you think about the thing that she wants. She's just going to blurt it out because that's what we do as young children. We haven't filtered ourselves yet. And so I have had to also encourage myself to ask for what I want, because the truth is nobody can give me what I want if they don't know what it is. And this is the case in every single relationship that we have, whether it's the relationship with ourselves, whether it's the relationship with money, whether it's the relationship with our partner, whether it's our boss, whether it's our business, whatever it is, it is relational. And until we get clear on what we want in that relationship, we're going to just be driving around lost. And so being clear on where you are in the relationship right now and where you want to be is incredibly powerful. Again, I've been doing this deep work in the last couple of weeks, and so these questions are very, very forefront of my mind. And so this is where I say, where are you now? Do you live in Florida? Do you live in Connecticut? Right? We need to know where you live right now in this relationship in order to get you to where you want to be. So, for instance, if you are in a job, in a career that is not fulfilling to you, it is okay to admit that it is not fulfilling. Maybe you don't admit that to your boss, right? Maybe that's not the admittance that you have, but admitting to yourself that you're not where you want to be is very powerful, because then it's almost like it's freeing. It's like, oh, yeah, you're right. Like, I am in Connecticut. Okay, so if I'm in Connecticut, how do I get to California at this point, right? And so you've got to know where you are first in order to know where you get there. I cannot stress that enough. So if you are in a job where you're not feeling fulfilled, it's okay to admit that to yourself. And then what you can say is, okay, if I'm not feeling fulfilled, what would make me feel more fulfilled? Whether it's in this position, whether it's in this company, whether it's not even in this place at all, and that's okay. Because it may not be available to you in the current position. It may not be available to you in that current relationship, in the expectations that have been set in that relationship. But you have to have the courage for yourself to say, you know what? This is not working for me. What can I do differently? Where can this be changed? Where can this look another way? And it's true in any of our relationships. Okay. I have had conversations like this before with my husband, especially before he would go on deployment. I would say, okay, here's where we're at. You're deploying to the other side of the world. And I know that for me to make it through this deployment without you, I'm going to need X, Y, and Z. This was a little bit about what I talked about last week. I'm going to need you to show me love in some other way. Okay. Now, he could have very easily been like, that's not for me. Right? And then that would be a very different conversation. But the truth is, even if someone says no to you, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. And this is the work of regulating your nervous system. This is the work where you come inside and you settle yourself down. Think of the way that you would calm your child, okay? Your kid bumps their knee on the playground, or they fall and they smash their hands, right? Like whatever it is, their nervous system is in fight or flight because they just got hurt. They're scared, they're terrified, they're in that animalistic mode. That same thing starts to happen to us when we hear somebody tell us no. Because our little minds think that we're not lovable when someone says no to us, right? And so as adults, what do? Some of us go, well, I'm just going to prove that person wrong, right? And we go into this fight kind of an energy. Or some people shrink down and they're like, right? And they freeze. They're like, well, this person says I can't do it, so they must be right. So we just freeze and we don't ever actually go after the thing that we want, right? No does not have to be a scary thing. It's okay if somebody tells you no. It's okay if the thing that you're going after is not here right now in this moment. It's going to be okay. There are a million different ways to create the thing that you desire. There are a million different ways to get to Connecticut from California or vice versa, right? There are a million different ways to make something happen. That one no does not mean it's done, it's over, it's never going to happen, right? And so having the courage to ask for it, something that I like to do when I'm working up the courage to ask for something that I'm feeling a little bit hesitant around, is I will look at all the things that I have already created in my life. What are the situations in which I said, I wanted it, I went after it, and I got it? Or I wanted it, I asked for it, and I got it, right? And so I will bring those to the forefront because there are plenty of examples where I have asked for something and I've been told no. And that doesn't feel good, right? It just doesn't, you're like, ugh, right? Like, I just want people to say yes to me all the time. I want everything to be rosy and pretty and all the things, right? And so when I am getting ready to ask something that I feel I may be rejected for, I will work up the courage by saying, okay, well, I wanted to do this, and had I not asked for it, I wouldn't have gotten it. I wanted this, and had I not given myself permission to ask for it, didn't have the courage, I wouldn't have gotten it, right? There are so many examples in our lives where we did have the courage to ask for it. And we did trust ourselves and we did go after it, right? And so that's what I focus on when I go to ask for something, right? And it may not come from that person, right? This was a lesson that I learned very early on in business, is that I show up and I provide information and I give coaching and support, and I know that God is going to support me, and I know that money is going to come to me in one way or another, and it may not even be from the person that I helped, that I supported, right? I did a lot of free discovery calls early on, and there were countless discovery calls where the person didn't close. It was a conversation I rolled right into coaching, and that was the only conversation I ever had with that person. And then there were other instances where I rolled into a free discovery call, and that person signed up to work with me for 6 months for, whatever the package was at that point, right? Like, I don't ever get attached to the thing that I want coming from just that person, right? Now, Maybe there's something that you want specifically from that person in a relationship, right? If I am desiring love to come from my husband in a certain way, I have to be very clear about it. I have to know that he's comprehending what that is, right? Because I do want that love and support to come from him, not from an external source, right? You know what I mean. So when it comes to having the courage, again, make that list of things that have already gone right. Make the list of the things that have worked out. And maybe right now all you can come up with is one. But just putting that into your focus allows it to start to work through your brain, right? It allows your brain to start to begin to pull the rest of those examples to you. And maybe in a week you have 75 different examples, right? Maybe it just builds on each other. Maybe you sit down and you say, you know what, I've got 5. That's a really great place to start, because once you shift that focus from all of the ways that you've gotten what you wanted, then you can start to replicate it. Okay. Now, this is not the whole kind of Dear Santa, I want it, I'm a spoiled little brat kind of thing, right? Like, that is not what this is about. This is about creating the life that you desire, knowing what you want, and then having the courage to ask for it. Because 5 years is going to go by anyways. Why don't you make sure you know where you're going? Okay. I'm going to come back on here. We're going to do a little bit more work around this, because I don't feel like this is a one and done kind of a conversation where I'm like, here, go figure this out right now. So we're going to have another conversation around this, around how do we start to create that structure to get there, but also to allow the space for it to happen. This is where I really shine. This is my favorite kind of work, because it is that balance and that harmony between the masculine and the feminine energies. And it is so good, so different for everybody. But we're going to dive into it a little bit more on the next one. So next week, I'm mentally looking at my calendar right now. So next week we'll dive into a little bit more of how do we make this work in our own life? What does it look like? So if you do want to follow along, maybe we'll make this like a little bit of a mini series. If you do want to follow along, do some journaling tonight. Spend some time in retrospection and say, okay, what is it that I really want, right? Well, before that, let's look at where am I currently in my relationship? Pick one of your relationships, whether it's with money, your business, your partner, yourself, the things that you want, right? Whatever that relationship is, pick one of them right now. You can definitely journal through all of them, but pick one of them and say, okay, right now, where am I at with my relationship with myself? Am I in a space where I trust myself regularly? Am I in a space where I rely on my intuition? Am I in a space where I feel good about the relationship with myself? And then look at it a year from now. Where are you in this relationship? Where do you want to go with this relationship? What do you want it to look like? What are the things you want to feel? What do you want to experience with it? One thing that's another way to really look at that is look at your relationship with money. How do you feel about talking about money? That's going to be a huge eye-opener for you probably if you haven't done this work. And if you are looking to really deepen into this, you really want some support in going through this, please reach out to me. I am accepting private clients right now, and I would love to do this deeper work with you, because I want you to be able to create the life that you want and not just get lost driving around the country, right? So let's create some intention around it. If you do have questions, you can comment below. You can reach out to me, message me. I would be happy to help. But I'm sending you so much love today. And I look forward to connecting with you next week. It does feel like this is going to be a little bit of a mini series. So this is exciting. I'll be excited about this. Going to make notes right now so that I can pick up where we left off. But spend some time journaling. Where are you right now? Where do you want to be in a year? Let's just look a year out, right? 365 days. A lot can change in 365 days. So where are you right now? Where do you want to be? And then make a list of some of the things that you have accomplished already. I like to call this the confidence list. Can also be called a little bit more of a courage list, because we do want to cultivate that courage to continue to ask for what we want. because the truth is, you can't get what you want if you don't ask for it, right? So I'm sending you so much love. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And as always, be big, be bold, and be opulent. Bye, love.